Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex here on the South Side. Steeler headquarters, Bob Pompiani, soon to be joined by Missy Matthews, and this is a Tomlin Monday, not Tuesday, because it is a short week as the Tennessee Titans will come to Acrisure Stadium on Thursday. A big game for both teams, no doubt, especially what happened yesterday. The Steelers with a home loss to Jacksonville 20-10. There were big plays in that, which I'm sure we'll discuss here in the next hour, but there were big injuries as well, at least for significant players. Mike Tomlin will update those situations coming up. We'll also talk about the Tennessee Titans, who were victorious with a new quarterback in Will Levis, and his first action in the NFL, 4 touchdown passes, and he went down the field quite a bit. 3 of those went to DeAndre Hopkins. And that will be an assignment for the Steelers this week if they happen to lose Minkah Fitzpatrick, who left yesterday with a hamstring injury. He did not return in that game. And, of course, quarterback Kenny Pickett also left, did not return. He tried to, but then ended up not being able to do that. So his status is going to be a big topic today on Mike Tomlin's press conference. What happens if he doesn't play? And, beyond that, the Steelers need to take advantage of more opportunities in the first half of games. Their offense has been slow to start. It has cost them in the long run, and yesterday was another example of that. So there's a lot to get into with this game in preparation of what lies ahead with Tennessee. You would expect a physical game, and even though 4 touchdown passes by Will Levis, it was Derrick Henry doing his thing again. He went over 100 yards rushing. And that's going to be a big challenge, of course, as it always is playing Tennessee. No Minkah Fitzpatrick. You got to worry about down the field stuff. You also have to worry about stopping the run, which has been a problem and a challenge at times for the Steelers. Even though Travis Etienne did not get 100 yards, generally speaking, they got some plays when they needed to in the run game. So the Steelers have to make sure that gets better, and also their own run game. It would be nice in this situation to be able to match what Derrick Henry does, because that's the kind of game you would expect on a Thursday night. Historically, they played low-scoring games, and we'll see what happens coming up. All right, Mike Tomlin is at the podium. Actually, he's on his way there, so we'll continue to talk about the Steelers in their game yesterday. If you look at some of the numbers in this one, again, third down conversions were a problem. These are the weighty downs that Mike Tomlin talks about often. If you get them, you can make longer drives. And what happens is more people get involved in plays. But you got to convert. They can't be 3 and outs. And the first quarter certainly has been a challenge in that regard. They haven't been able to extend drives, possess the football, and keep it away from the other team, quite frankly. And in this case, coming up against Tennessee, that is the big thing. Keep it out of the hands of Derrick Henry and limit his possession time. And to do that, they have to get better numbers. We look at the numbers, and you see Najee Harris averaged just 1.9 per carry. Jaylen Warren, only 5 carries, 18 yards. They need better success there in the run game, of course, led by their offensive line. Another situation that we'll get into could be Cam Hayward. He is back in his 21-day period. Speculation is he will not play. You don't know that situation going in, and Mike Tomlin will also address that, I'm sure, because that activation has taken place and he has returned to practice. So that would certainly help in their run department to make some plays at the line of scrimmage and keeping a guy like Derrick Henry in check. All right, Mike Tomlin is now there. Let's go hear what he has to say about not only yesterday, but looking ahead to Tennessee.
Good afternoon. Quick week, and so I'll start quick. Quick first with an assessment of our play last night. Obviously, not the outcome that we wanted. I know a lot has been written and said or asked about the officiating and so forth. Here's my mindset and our mindset regarding officiating, man. It is our desire to win definitively, where potentially controversial calls are less significant. That's what good teams do. That's what elite teams do. It's our desire to be a good and elite team, so that we're not as flimsy and become a component of some debatable calls and things of that nature. I acknowledge that it was some of that in the game, but it's some of that in most games, to be quite honest with you, things that are capable of being reviewed or assessed in that way. I like to focus my energies on the things that are within our control, the quality of our execution, and I think when you do that definitively, it makes those discussions much relevant. And I think that's the point that I want to make to our football team moving forward. You just simply got to make those discussions less significant by the quality of your play, by winning and winning definitively. And obviously, we didn't play well enough for that to transpire. I thought we had some opportunities early to gain better traction, but we didn't seize those. Very first play of the game, we had Deontay running down the middle, for example. The next possession, I think we had George on a corner route, kind of behind the defender that we weren't able to connect on. We got in the red zone. Deontay slipped in the end zone. That was a 4-point kind of a play. And so that's kind of where we are. We're going to continue to work to improve and make those plays with much more consistency and position our guys to be in more of those circumstances so that we can get the type of starts that we need for the games to unfold in a more fluid manner, more to our vision, if you will, as opposed to trying to close the distance in the second half. We've had some success doing that. Obviously, we didn't have success yesterday doing that. We gave up a big play, a pass play to Etienne in the secondary, and that was probably the most significant play in terms of quelling our move, if you will. And then we also had a turnover in the second half that kind of slowed things and kind of put us in the position that we were in, trying to close the distance from multiple scores back, and they were able to lay back in some soft zones and make that tough sledding for us. We were able to get some turnovers, but they weren't the type of turnovers that tee up the offense in terms of being on the short field, although I do appreciate them. They kept the score down. They weren't the type of ones that teed up the offense, and so obviously we got a desire to dominate the turnover component of play. We got some, but not the type that's really advantageous. Splash plays in the special teams could be an asset to us. We didn't get that. And obviously, we'd like more consistent punting than we got yesterday as well. And so we got some things to address, and we will. But equally as important, man, we better turn our attention from a preparation standpoint on the Tennessee Titans. I'll talk injuries briefly. Mika could be characterized as out. He's got a hamstring injury. I don't have additional information in terms of time of that injury, but it's safe to say that he's not going to be able to be available to us on a short week. I think the door is definitively ajar for Kenny. Probably a game time type decision based on the information that I'm holding here today, with no structural damage and so forth to his ribs. And so we see how we'll go through the week. His ability to throw, his level of comfort, his ability of effectiveness, et cetera, and let that be our guide in terms of determining his availability. We got some other bumps and bruises that are being evaluated, just kind of a component of a quick turnaround. We'll see where some of those things lead us. We're not practicing today, but we're forecasting some practice availability. Guys like KZ are hypothetically listed as limited, and some other guys who had some bumps and bruises along the way, but not anticipating any of those being limited in terms of availability in the game. We got some guys that are working their way back in the 21-day window. Cam will be a consideration this week. Anthony McFarland will be a consideration this week. And so we got some things to juggle from a personnel standpoint in terms of inclusion of who's going to be a component of the plan and available to us, and beyond that, how much they're going to be available to us is another component of the discussion as well. But we'll get clarity in those areas as we push through the week and get closer to game time. Now focusing on Tennessee. First, man, I was just really impressed with their young quarterback and the way he performed yesterday. The way he managed the offense, the way they managed him within the offense. He took care of the ball. He was thoughtfully aggressive. He delivered the ball downfield to one-on-one playmakers, guys like D-Hop, who are always open. D-Hop's always open. His catch radius, his strong hands, his ability to high point the ball makes that a true statement. So obviously we got to be conscious of one-on-one circumstances with him. But Will's got some other eligibles that are a challenge as well. Okonkwo, the young tight end, getting familiar with his skill set. He appears to be really fluid and athletic in a matchup issue. Still very much Tennessee Titan football, man. They play off of the exploits of Derrick Henry. Man, we got to do a really good job of working to minimize him. But that's just a component of it. Their play action passing game, their misdirection passing game, all of those things feed off of his talents. You better do a really good job of bottling him up at the line of scrimmage. You can't let him get to the second and third level clean. If he does, he is a real problem. His long speed is an issue. His size and strength obviously is an issue. His free hand is an issue. He's got one of the best stiff arms around. And his ability to utilize it to extend big plays is something special. They screen him the ball as well. They just do a really good job of playing off of his exploits and including others while doing so. On the other side of the ball, they get after you up front with that group led by Simmons. Got a lot of respect for him. Man, he is one of those guys that's capable of taking over a game via the run, via the pass. You can just tell that he is the heartbeat of not only that unit, but probably that football team. The spirit and the intensity in which he brings to competition is really respectable. But he's not alone. They have Landry and Autry and others, Alden Key. They got a good four-man rush, and they do a really good job, obviously, of bringing additional people from a pressure standpoint. They bring their nickel back position quite a bit and challenging you from a protection standpoint. There's been some turnover, obviously, in the secondary, particularly in recent weeks with the trade and so forth. But they do a really good job of keeping a lid on it, particularly of late. You've seen some adjustments schematically from them in an effort to minimize some explosion plays. That number is way down. Excuse me. And so we're anticipating a rough and tumble game. Steelers, Titans, business as usual. Our senses are heightened because it's Thursday night ball. We got to do a really good job of putting together a plan that's appropriate. And when I say appropriate, I mean we better do things that we can handle. In some instances, we're capable of being an experienced group. And so in those instances, short weeks are less significant. In other instances where we lack experience, we better be thoughtful about what we ask these guys to do and their level of readiness and in-helmet perspective on the preparation. But that's no different for any teams, any of the teams that are preparing for Thursday night play. You got to make those type of decisions in an effort to be diverse enough to keep people off balance while at the same time, managing your guys and putting them in position to play fast and fluid and communicate and be successful. And so this is our first opportunity at it. We're excited about it. We got a couple of short weeks this year. And you know how we are. We don't run from challenges. We run to them. It's an opportunity for us to distinguish ourselves and to really embrace the challenge that is preparation this week. There'll never be enough time. We got to, be artful and thoughtful about how we construct the week in an effort to maximize the prep time. The guys got to do a really good job of preparing formally and informally up into the 11th hour, and then we'll go play. So I'll pause and open it up for questions.
I know it's a short week, but will you try to have Kenny practice tomorrow, or we kind of have to just wait until game time almost?
We're going to work on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be a really functional practice, and so he'll have an opportunity to display readiness at that time.
Regardless of Levi Wallace's health, has Joey done enough to be a starter going forward now?
He has.
Mike, how do you position our guys to be in more of those circumstances? I'm talking about the big play opportunities a moment ago.
Man, we just got to keep crafting. We got to do a really good job in this. The longer you get into the season, the more evident your opponent's personality is, the more evident our personality is. But that information is valuable in terms of the early portions of games in particular, in terms of positioning guys to make splash plays.
Mike, if Kenny can't go Thursday, will it be Mitch again?
Yes.
When you say Wednesdays, is that your normal procedure for a week, or are you doing something a little bit different this week?
It is our normal procedure for a short week.
Mike, Deontay was very firm and outspoken about the officiating after the game yesterday. Do you have a discussion with him, or have you had a discussion with him since then?
I haven't seen the comments, and so I'll reserve any comment until I see what he said. I don't know what he said. But anything I do will obviously be between he and I and won't be for public consumption in settings like this.
Like a short week like this, how do you determine what you don't need to go over during the week? What hits the cutting room floor, for the lack of better words?
You know, a lot of it has to do with your units and the experience and of your units individually and collectively. In some instances, man, you have to physically go through things. In other instances, there are boxes to check. But you better push the weighty downs to the front of the line. The downs that define games, the downs that comprise highlight shows, possession downs, red zone football, 2-minute, things of that nature. You can't shortcut any of that. And so some of the first and second down football, oftentimes in weeks such as this, you make some decisions in that regard.
Mike, what's the impact of losing Minka, and from a communication standpoint, who takes over on the back end?
You know, obviously, the loss of Minka is a significant one. It is a multi-man job, not a one-man job. Thankfully, we have some veterans back there, guys like Killebrew and KZ and Keanu Neal, who are veteran NFL players, and that, you know, lessens the impact, hopefully. But obviously, it's not a one-man job when you're talking about replacing Minka, whether you're talking about his playmaking ability or his hub of communication ability.
We've seen a little bit of Patrick Peterson play safety. Is that something you think is an option, maybe inside or outside of Minka's availability for him at this point in his career?
Pat has been very versatile. He displays really, really good football intellect. That's one of the things that attracted us to him. As I mentioned last week when we lost Cam Sutton in free agency, that made him an attractive option because of his flexibility, positional flexibility, and his football intellect that will allow him to move around and do some of the things that Cam was able to do when he was here.
Because you use Minka so many different ways, does that lessen now that you have other guys piecing together that role?
You know, when Minka's doing things and moving around, the guys that he's working with are also moving around and doing other things, and so I'm not worried about their ability to execute assignment from that perspective. The fluidity of that has been a process, I think, where the collective has grown.
You said after the game that you didn't alter the scheme or the game plan. You didn't play three safeties just like you seem like you always would. Now that you have a week to prepare, do you anticipate kind of altering things a little bit? Or?
We got some planning to do. Those things will be discussed. But I'm open to doing anything that positions us to be successful.
And can Miles play? He hasn't played much defense for you since he's been here, but he's a guy you can trust to play.
Miles has started as a safety in this league. I'm not concerned about his abilities, if that's what you're asking.
Following LA, you talked about taking Watt, putting him on the other side occasionally, dropping him a little bit more occasionally. I think at the end of the third quarter, you looped him inside and helped blow up a run play. How is that process coming of finding other ways to have him attack from different positions so as to diversify the coverage?
It's week to week. It's week to week.
Mike, I believe Rodney Williams got more snaps than Darnell yesterday. Was that game plan specific, or what is Rodney doing that is getting him included more?
Just how the game was unfolding. Probably we're down multiple scores, particularly late. Rodney played a lot there. We're in the one-dimensional phase, if you will, and so sometimes snap counts don't always reflect intentions from a planning standpoint. It's probably more a reflection of how the game unfolded.
Mike, you need to get the ball to Pickens more.
I'm sorry?
You need to get the ball to Pickens more.
Yes.
And any idea why it unfolded the way it did yesterday?
They did a really good job of doing some different things and rolling coverage his way, but not overly concerned about that component of it. We've had dynamic receivers here before who get a lot of attention. When you're right and well, it creates opportunities for others in the running game and passing game, and then thus opens up their opportunities. Our issues yesterday was we didn't take advantage of the opportunities provided in other areas because of the attention that George was getting. And so that's probably our focus as opposed to George. When George occupies two guys, that's great opportunity for others in the running game and passing game, and it just wasn't enough dominance from us in those other areas. It's probably my knee-jerk response to the subject matter.
Mike, you guys were really successful running the ball the second half of last year. Why do you feel that has not carried over to this season?
We're not there yet. We're not at the turn. We're continually working to get better, and we better.
Mike, when you see a call that you say you haven't seen in 17 years of coaching, head coaching, is that something that you seek clarity from the league or complain to about?
I'm going to keep those comments to myself.
To go back to the secondary real quick, the trickle-down effect of availability and stuff. How has a young guy like Darius Rush progressed in the short time he's been here?
He's done a really nice job. We put him in a helmet yesterday. He did enough to be considered in that way. Like the overall trajectory of his play. It'll be a big week for him continually as he shows the detail and the communication things that make you comfortable in terms of putting him on the field.
You mentioned Levi specifically. Is he a guy that could come back this week?
We'll see. We'll see.
Mike, your thoughts on how Mitch did and how he's done in his role here a year or two with you?
Largely, man, Mitch has done a really good job. And I'm talking about day-to-day. The things that come with being a backup quarterback in terms of being an asset to Kenny, being an idea guy, being a really good communicator, making sure quarterbacks and receivers are on the same page, et cetera, et cetera. He is highly professional and really good at those things. Hadn't had a lot of opportunities to play, but when called upon, man, always is ready above the neck and competitive. And so just really comfortable with him. But we'll see where the week leads us in terms of him having a week of prep or a couple of days of prep on this short week and what that might mean in terms of quality of play. All of those things are up in the air, especially considering Kenny's availability is up in the air. So we'll kind of walk through some of those things day by day.
Are you seeing more aggressiveness from Mitch from where he was as a starter last year to how he's played in these two instances in relief?
That's tough to compare. I don't necessarily remember some of the details or some of the things that transpired at the early portions of last year.
Mitch was one of the guys who mentioned execution kind of being a common thread on the offensive side, or lack of execution. Are you seeing these guys take enough responsibility when it comes to executing out there?
I am, but responsibility doesn't get it done. The playmaking does. We don't have a responsibility issue. We got to make plays.
Mike, was the neutral zone a point of emphasis over the summer because of the quarterback sneak play? And might there have been some confusion there with the official?
I am not going to speculate on that.
Mike, do you need to see something from Kenny Tuesday or Wednesday, or is it purely medical? If he feels good?
Certainly I'm going to want to see something. Absolutely. He's a young guy, position withstanding. He is a young guy. And so I need to see some physical preparation in order to consider him, certainly.
How do you think James Pierre did in the snaps he got?
James has stepped up for us in the past before, and he's always a game guy, detail guy, good communicator. I thought he did a serviceable job.
Anyone else?
Just one on Levis. I know you weren't in the market for a quarterback in the first 35 picks or anything, but when you study guys, I know you look ahead for whenever. What popped the most about him? Is it arm talent or what was it?
I didn't look at it in that way. If you're asking from a draft eval perspective, I didn't. I've really just been focused on him this week from a prep standpoint.
Trade deadline tomorrow. Are you guys looking into anything there, and how involved are you in that process?
We're always open for business.
Anyone else? All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that said, Coach Mike Tomlin getting set for Tennessee, covering some of the topics that I know a lot of people are interested in. Missy Matthews joins us now, and the big one is injuries. And I think we all knew that Minkah Fitzpatrick did not look like he was in a position to come back on a short week, especially. But Kenny Pickett is a game-time decision. That's encouraging because when he left, you thought maybe there was a broken rib or two in there.
Yeah, and Coach Tomlin said, he needs to see something from a physical standpoint from him. The injury reports, the status reports have to start today because it is a Thursday game. Wednesday is the big day where he said the team will practice and he'll be able to tell then. It is a short week. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little surprised that he is a game time decision, but that must mean good news in terms of his rib injury.
However, if he doesn't play, then Mitch Trubisky is going to be the next guy up. And a lot of people have speculated who should be the quarterback. Mason Rudolph would be active in that situation and available, but it's going to be Trubisky. And, he's had, when in there last year, a couple of times where he's done pretty well, specifically the Carolina game.
Well, he started that game. Kenny wasn't able to play that game, but when Tampa Bay was here at Acrisure Stadium, he came in for Kenny there. The Steelers obviously got the win in that one. So I think yesterday he was definitely beating himself up a lot after the game because of that interception, trying to force it down the field, trying to make a play because it was such a close game that, you know, they were within reach at that point. So as Coach said, hopefully with a week of preparation or a few days, really, that will help whoever they decide to tab as the quarterback. But again, game-time decision, like he said, for Kenny Pickett.
Well, the thing about it, no matter who's the quarterback, they got to start much faster, and this has been a recurring issue. When you don't score early in games, no touchdowns in the first quarter or first half, you're largely dealing with deficits, which, you know, you get away from the things you'd like to do at that point. So I think in this game especially, you got to do more of that, right, Missy? I mean, this is a team that's going to rely, I would think, on Derrick Henry, even though they have a young quarterback who's never been in this situation kind of before. If they make it, you know, a good first quarter and get out of the lead, then you may take Derrick Henry away.
Yeah, and you can't continue to string together 3 and outs and punt a ton in a game against a team like this. We saw what their offense was able to do yesterday against the Falcons, and like you said with Derrick Henry, Will Levis looks extremely comfortable in his first start, throwing 4 touchdowns, and DeAndre Hopkins looks like the D-Hop I think that everybody has known as the player. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough test for everybody, and the Steelers are going to have to improve on pretty much all phases.
Apparently, mayonnaise sales are increased down in Tennessee now that he's done that. Put that in your coffee. Have you ever done that?
No.
Will Levis does that, though. And whatever it works,
gross.
it works.
And coming up, Bob's going to try it live
No,
on air.
I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I like my coffee the way I like my coffee. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more about Will Levis eventually. We'll also get into some of the Steelers defensive challenges they have ahead of this game with Tennessee, how to stop Derrick Henry. It seems like no matter who you're playing against, he's always getting the numbers that he desires. We'll get into that and more as we continue right here live on KDK Plus and all the Steeler digital platforms. Back in a minute.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
Talk about the momentum you guys gained on that touchdown drive and a touchdown to Georgia.
Yeah, we had one good drive. We were executing well. We were able to stay balanced, and we went down and finished in the end zone. Georgia made a great play. We protected well that drive and finished with 6. So it was a good drive, and those are the type of drives we got to have more of just to be a more consistent offense.
What happened on the interception when you're down 7?
Yeah, forced the throw on my part, trying to make a play downfield. They were playing a lot of 2 second half. Us playing behind, we need to push the ball downfield a little bit, clouding the Georgia a lot. That one was invert. I was trying to get the ball to A-Rob. It was a force, good play by them, so that's on me. I got to be better. Just take what they give me, especially with us only being down 7 at that point. I should have probably checked it down and hopefully move on from there.
When the offense has been struggling, is there a desire maybe to try to get things back quickly? Could that have been the case?
Forcing a throw, absolutely. I mean, I got to be smarter. I mean, I'm out there trying to win the game, right? So we're not just trying to run the ball or check it down every time. That was a force on my part, but I wanted to come in and try to make plays for this offense. Maybe on that instance was doing too much, and that's where you get in trouble. But I wanted to push the ball downfield, and that was the wrong thing to do on that play. So got to learn from it.
Mitch, as a whole, why has the offense been so inconsistent?
Execution. We just got to be better executing our plays, getting everybody on the same page, and staying balanced as an offense.
How tough is it to kind of put this game away and get ready for Thursday, especially knowing that Kenny's status is a little bit up in the air right now?
Yeah, just got to prepare on a short week. That's the job. So we play on Thursday. Sometimes that's a positive thing because you get to flush this game quickly, get that taste out of our mouth, and just get back to the game on Thursday. So we got to flush it, and everybody's got to prepare and get ready to go for Thursday night.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
It is our desire to win definitively, where potentially controversial calls are less significant. That's what good teams do. That's what elite teams do. It's our desire to be a good and elite team so that we're not as flimsy and become a component of some debatable calls and things of that nature. I acknowledge that it was some of that in the game, but it's some of that in most games, to be quite honest with you, things that are capable of being reviewed or assessed in that way. I like to focus my energies on the things that are within our control, the quality of our execution, and I think when you do that definitively, it makes those discussions much relevant. And I think that's the point that I want to make to our football team.
And that's the reasonable, prudent thing to do if you're a head coach, but it doesn't stop us from talking about some of those plays.
We can't get fined, Bob.
We can't get fined. But, when you look at it, the thing there were a lot of interesting calls, debatable calls, bad calls, quite frankly. For me, it's about what they do with roughing the passer. Because too many times there is this gray area. It's a subjective call. And to me, if you're consistent with it, that's fine. Like yesterday, there was no consistency. The one by Neal, if you're going to deem that a penalty, then the one by Gotsis is more of a penalty, yet only one was called, not the other. So it's either one or the other. It can't be back and forth. It has to be consistent all the way through.
Yeah, I think especially here in Pittsburgh, it felt like it was very one-sided in favor of Jacksonville, really just hurting the Steelers. And you could tell by what certain guys, Deontay Johnson and others, said in the locker room afterwards. You could just tell even, I went back and watched some clips on social of Coach Tomlin's reaction, especially to the one on the field goal. Boz having to try to kick a 61-yarder. That would have made such a difference in the game heading into halftime. Yes, Tennessee was getting the ball back to start, but it just makes a difference, I think, mentally as well. And that was just a very weird one that did not make sense to anybody. Didn't know that could actually happen on a field goal, but it did. And as Coach Tomlin said, in his 17 years of being on NFL sidelines as a head coach, he has never seen that. Today he was asked numerous times, took the high road, didn't say anything. But you do have to turn the page, especially with a Thursday night game to get ready for and coming off of a loss. So. Spilled milk, can't really cry over it. It is what it is at this point.
No, they lost because they lost. But I'm just saying, from someone who watches not just this game or other games, I watch a lot of games, I'm sure we all do, you'll see this inconsistency throughout the league. And I don't know if the officials, know exactly what they're trying to do. There is a component of the competition committee over the years. They've talked about review, replay. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a challenge, I suppose, but if the people, the eye in the sky, the people in New York say, hey, you guys need to look at that again, or is that the best solution to this? Or what do they do?
I don't know, but when they replay things on the Jumbotron in home stadiums, you're inciting the fans, which makes sense to let the refs know what they think of the call, and that happened several times yesterday. Even the DPI on James Pierre, that was one where it was like, what did you actually see on that? So I don't know. It is what it is. It stinks, but like you said, it did not cost them the game. They had several chances, lots of miscues, drops, a number of things that went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about game planning all you want. Right off the bat, Missy, they make that first play down the field to Deontay Johnson. That should have been a completion. It was a high throw, sure, but that's probably a catchable ball for him. And then the one in the end zone is a missed opportunity. If those happen, a lot of things change in the course of a game.
But they have too many of those that happen in one game. And then I think everyone's waiting until the fourth quarter for this comeback to happen. Kenny Pickett obviously wasn't in at that point either, but it didn't feel like they were able to get some traction and get things going. And as Coach also mentioned in his press conference in terms of the Steelers defense, yes, they created turnovers, but it was different than what they did in LA against the Rams. You weren't giving the offense a short field to work with, more of a chance to get into the red zone, field goals, touchdowns, whatever. It just felt like nothing was going right yesterday in all three phases, quite frankly.
No, and this has to be, it has to change. There's no question about it. You saw right after the pass to Deontay Johnson that did not go for a completion. That was a slip because the ball was behind him. I think, again, they're just missed opportunities, and if you make them, everything is better. But this has been the trend for the Steelers, not doing much in the first quarter of games, and you'd like to change that. It has to start at some point because it's just not good. They rank at the last on just about every offensive category in the first half of games, and they put themselves in deficits that sometimes you can't get out of. And you can't rely on fourth quarter comebacks every single week. It's just impossible to expect that to happen.
Well, I think they were winning ugly for several games in a row. It felt like it was sustainable, and I think yesterday proved that it's not.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about defense. Now, the big thing here is, Minkah Fitzpatrick. What do? He's the heart and soul of that defensive backfield. People watch him play, and you know what he does, but he's also the communicator. He's the guy in charge of delegating what goes on back there. So who takes that role, do you think? And they do have some veterans who were brought in for that reason.
I think Minkah is the hub of communication because he knows this defense so well in and out, knows how to line guys up or tell them what to do if there is some communication. But those inside linebackers have taken on that green dot responsibility, and I think that group has played great, especially over these last two games coming out of the bye. So, the Landon Roberts and Quan Alexander, Cole Holcomb, those are guys that relay it to everybody. I think Minkah was just able to really help the back end, and especially with, Joey Porter Jr. starting yesterday with Levi Wallace out. Having Minkah there with him probably would have helped a lot, even especially on that, Travis Etienne touchdown where everyone seemed to say it was a lot of miscommunication in terms of the coverage that they were using.
Yeah, that was, you can tell there was something not right there on that play. But, we see a lot of this is the one play we're talking about early in the game, that it was a completion, but also you tack on 15 yards and made a significant change to what was going on with Jacksonville. But I think I agree with you. The middle of the field, these linebackers have done a pretty good job. They're forcing turnovers. I think Mike Tomlin talked about earlier, those turnovers were different than the ones we saw in L.A. The ones in L.A. were in the red zone, and to their credit, they capitalized on all three of them. This was just preventing points from happening, which is never a bad thing, but you got to turn them into points at some point too, and they just haven't done it. But, Trevor Lawrence played a very good game. I don't think there's any question. He's an emerging quarterback, and they got somebody new this week. So I want to ask you about just the strategy. You want to stop Derrick Henry, but when you have a guy like Will Levis, who's never been on a road situation like this, do you go after him? Typically, the Steelers like to go after rookie quarterbacks and put him to the test. Is that the strategy that would suit you?
Well, I think what Derrick Henry is going to bring. I think with Will Levis, it's such a small sample size.
Right.
You have one game to go through, try to pick out tendencies, different things like that. But I think with a rookie quarterback, you try to make him really uncomfortable, whether it's blitzing, pressure. It's going to, I think, require a lot of different things in order to try to stop them in terms of the Steelers' defense. And Coach did mention that it is a possibility. I don't know if it's a small or a large one that Cam Hayward could come back, but that is a guy that, his return to the Steelers defensive line would be huge.
Yeah, and his 21-day period was activated last week, so he's been practicing. And I think most of us thought it would be beneficial just to keep him through this short week and into the next game against Green Bay. But, when you're trying to win a game and he's available, if he looks good, hopefully that'll be the case and it gets in there and makes a difference on a run defense that can certainly use the help, especially against a guy like Derrick Henry. We'll take a break, come back with more comments from Mike Tomlin, and we'll get into the game specifically with Tennessee coming up next right here on the Mike Tomlin Monday, not Tuesday press conference on KDK+.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
What was it that Jacksonville was able to do, especially to kind of maintain drives in that second half of you guys?
Continue to convert, continue to move the chains, and I think it was pretty obvious we had a problem stopping it.
Mike said that nothing schematically was different without Minkah in there, but what is the effect of losing him so early in the game?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you lose an all-pro player, a guy who is a leader in the back end, a leader of the defense, it's a big blow, but it's one that we have to be able to manage, whether it's with one guy, whether it's with two or three guys, but we always preach the next man up mentality, and everybody's in the meetings, everybody's at practice, so it's all about the next man and what he's able to do and fill in that spot.
Any
any idea what happened on the long touchdown? Anything from your vantage point? Was there a breakdown?
I don't know. I have to watch the film before I give any breakdown.
Did you guys think coming into it that Ingram was going to be a big part of their game plan, or maybe was that just them taking advantage of where you guys were?
I mean, we knew he was a great pass catcher. I mean, we respected him coming into the game, but weren't able to stop him today.
Still a level of frustration with when calls are happening and things that are maybe outside of your control, especially when the defense kind of does its job. How do you deal with that, and how do you move forward from that?
Continue to try to do my job, and the job is to go out there and play solid defense, try to deliver the ball, try to get off the field as quickly as possible, try to flip field position, and don't have time to look around and point blame. None of us are playing the way that we should right now.
How difficult is it to absorb and kind of move on from a loss like this on a short week?
I mean, there's no time to sit and sulk. We have a game on Thursdays.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
They did a really good job of doing some different things and rolling coverage his way. But not overly concerned about that component of it. We've had dynamic receivers here before who get a lot of attention. When you're right and well, it creates opportunities for others in the running game and passing game, and then thus opens up their opportunities. Our issues yesterday was we didn't take advantage of the opportunities provided in other areas because of the attention that George was getting.
That's Mike Tomlin talking about George Pickens' day. He was targeted 5 times, just one catch, but that one catch went for a 22-yard touchdown. He's often said that even when I'm covered, I'm not covered. And we saw that on that one play. It was a significant play because it was challenged by Jacksonville. It was a catch it looked like he made, but he got his foot right on the edge there. Mm-hmm. So they challenged. They end up then, ball goes over to them, and they go in 56 yards later to Travis Etienne. So the question is, even when he's covered, should they throw the ball more to him?
Yeah, I just felt like there were some times that Kenny just didn't see where he was. Obviously, it was a very heavy game in terms of Deontay Johnson, and I think we saw more of an even split between those two guys in L.A. with Deontay coming back for that first game after being on IR. But it did feel weird that we weren't seeing more George Pickens, especially, just given what he's been able to show us. Clearly, as you said, getting into the end zone, that's great, but it just felt like those two guys can be such mismatches that they weren't maybe running plays necessarily to get him open.
Well, another guy who's been missing, we didn't even talk about him, is Pat Freiermuth. He hasn't been around because of his hamstring. That's a tough injury. Anytime you get those, you can re-aggravate it. It takes longer sometimes than you think. I mean, he can give them what Dallas Goedert brings to the Eagles. He can give them what a guy like yesterday, Evan Ingram, brought here to this team, because he was targeted 10 times. He made 10 receptions.
Yeah, a lot of guys were asked about Evan Ingram after the game, just in terms of, did you think he was going to be involved so much? But like you said, combat catcher was making a ton of plays, and Trevor Lawrence did a really good job of spreading the ball out as well. And they were balanced in terms of run and pass. That's, what every offense strives to do. I do think, again, with the Pickens thing, I was kind of surprised that Rodney Williams had 2 targets. I just felt like there was different guys. I don't know. It just felt like that game was getting away for them. And then it just felt like with the penalties, it was just a snowball effect. Right. And it was kind of like, when is this going to end?
Well, that's the other thing. I think all of us expected Darnell Washington to be more involved, especially with injuries, though. He did not have as many snaps as Rodney Williams did, which doesn't add up based on where they drafted him. Again, when the game gets out of control a little bit, then people are coming in at all different junctures of that. But the bottom line is they need more production from that position as well. And you can lump Connor Hayward into that as well. He got some activity yesterday, but that position needs to have more of an impact on what they're doing offensively.
Yeah, I think losing Freiermuth was huge. That was definitely somebody that Kenny was comfortable with, can work the middle of the field. And I think, too, I just, in terms of Darnell Washington, usually when he comes in, they're going to run. But we also saw Broderick Jones yesterday. Report is eligible and help as well.
Well, I was hoping he'd catch one.
Well, let's not get too crazy, Paul. Let's let them score some touchdowns first. But hey, I'm down for a trick play or is something in disguise. It just seemed like they were trying different things. We saw some jet sweeps with Calvin Austin. They just could not get going.
Yeah. We'll also, when we come back, talk about some of the other components that on Thursday night could be a factor, like Tennessee's punter had a really good game, whereas I thought Presley Harvin was not as good as he needs to be. And in a game like what we're looking at on Thursday, potentially that could be a big part of it, the field position game as well. We'll get into that and other stuff as we continue here on Monday. It's a Tomlin Monday, getting set for a Thursday matchup with Tennessee, right here on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms. So we'll be right back.
The stadium is on fire. They're enjoying what they're seeing.
Did you know it was possible to line up offside on the field goal?
I mean, I'm sure if you line up over the ball, it's offside, but I've never heard about it or heard it called. I thought I lined up in the same spot I've been lining up for the past 8 years or 70 years, but it is what it is. That's far from the reason why this game was not won. So that's very, very minor to me in terms of the refs stuff. Much more prudent and important stuff offensively that is, we need to look at.
What are you thinking about on those ones?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start with myself. I always will look in the mirror, talk to Pat, talk to Ike, plays in terms of pass protection, in terms of the run game, and then, hopefully everybody, player and coach, is doing that as well, which I think they are, which I think is the culture around here, like Coach Tomlin has made. But offensively, if we want to be successful, on defense, you can get away with 10 guys not doing a job with one guy winning, and it's a great play. But on offense, you got to work as a well-oiled unit, and everybody's got to be on the same page on every play. And I think consistency is something we're missing offensively, but that's not to take away from really good individual performances. I think Deontay, I don't know what the stat line is. Kenny stood in there and made a lot of plays. But I'm going to start with myself in the line first and then go from there.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
Still very much Tennessee Titan football, man. They play off of the exploits of Derrick Henry. Man, we got to do a really good job of working to minimize him. But that's just a component of it. Their play-action passing game, their misdirection passing game, all of those things feed off of his talents. You better do a really good job of bottling him up at the line of scrimmage. You can't let him get to the second and third level clean. If he does, he is a real problem.
I still remember the hit by Robert Spillane on him. That's
I was
one of those.
literally just thinking that.
I mean, how can you not? That's what it takes, though, if you're going to deal with a guy like Derrick Henry, who yesterday again went over 100 yards, which gave Levis some more opportunities in that game, in the pass game, that he took advantage of. The one thing about him, he can throw the ball. Let's talk about Derrick Henry, though. You put more people in the box, it does open up one-on-one coverage. And if this kid gets time, he's shown that he can air it out, and then it becomes just a speed game.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Steelers defense, especially the run defense, has to step up to the plate on Thursday night on this short week. I think, with Derrick Henry, they've played him before. You know what this guy brings to the table. And as you saw yesterday, not slowing down in that part. And I think for a rookie quarterback, especially making his first start, what better way to have that cushion of a Derrick Henry who can take the load off of you a little bit. He obviously aired it out as well, but hopefully the Steelers are able to take away some component of that offense to make it difficult for Will Levis.
And the one thing with them, he's going to get 20 carries, regardless of the situation.
He's a workhorse.
He is. He gets it, and he also has the speed to turn something into a 90-yard touchdown run. He's shown that before. That's why, get to the Steeler run game. You need to see more of it. Whatever the reasons are, some of these run totals week in and week out are unacceptable for a guy like Najee Harris, who is supposed to be doing more in that, or even Jalen Warren, whatever the case may be. They've got to get more success in the run game.
Yeah, and I thought they turned to Jalen Warren to get those explosion runs. Kind of, he just breaks tackles in the second half of the game, not so much in the first. But agree, when you're going toe-to-toe with Derrick Henry, I understand it's not offense versus offense, but in terms of time of possession, it absolutely is. And if the Steelers continue to go 3 and out and punt, it's not going to help them.
No, this is the one drive that actually looked like it would result in a touchdown. This is after the KZ pick in the end zone where he brought it out, and it was a 98-yard thing. They were moving pretty well, and you thought you were going to get 6 points out of this. But, again, the run game does have an opportunity to help the pass game. Play action doesn't work unless you run it and prove it you could run it, and I think that's one of the problems they've had here in that department. As far as, secondary, without Minkah Fitzpatrick, and you look down the field with some of these guys, specifically Hopkins, they're going to try to do it. That's what they do. They throw the ball deep, and it doesn't matter that it's Will Levis. They did it with Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis has been in there long enough for me to see if they do, but that's a constant part of their game. So the pressure then becomes how you cover a guy like that. Do you double cover him? Do you make sure you got something on the top with him? Because if you don't, that Will Levis has the kind of arm that can throw 60 yards in the air.
Yeah, it's way above my pay grade, but I think, Minkah went out so early in the game, and then it was kind of having guys, and they are a veteran group of safeties who are behind him to try to fill in, but hopefully knowing that Minkah is out today as you start game planning and going, preparing for Tennessee, that can help them as well. But the other thing that we did not mention, Joey Porter Jr., Coach Tomlin did confirm that he did enough to be the starter.
Yeah, you could have said that a couple of weeks ago, really. He's been playing very well. And again, I don't know whose fault it was on that 56-yarder to ETN. KZ came in and kind of went at a different angle, and it led for a really game-changing play at that point. The one thing we haven't really talked about, and we should talk about, is field position. A game like this, I think you and I both expected to be low scoring. That's the way they play these games. This guy, Ryan Stonehouse, had a really big game yesterday. It was a big part of what happened because they were short fields. They got a 3 and out, and that opened the way for some of their bigger pass plays. He had a 72-yarder, a 66-yarder, and how many kicks inside the 20-yard line?
Yeah, I think 6 out of 9 were within the 20. But yeah, what other better way can you help a rookie quarterback, serving a platter of how to have a successful first start than having the special teams chip in as well? And as you said, something not necessarily great yesterday. You can't knock Boz for not making the 61-yarder after he made the 55 and the whole, thing with the penalty. But it's not even like he had that many opportunities to.
No, and Presley Harvin has been inconsistent again. He needs to be on top of his game in this game to pin them deep as much as possible when he gets that opportunity. All right, so it's the Steelers and the Titans coming up. The Steelers are favored at home this week against Tennessee. Rookie quarterback, a lot of variables in play here. We'll wrap up today's show coming up and go over the injury situation one more time in case you missed it and joined us late. A lot of interesting news and developments there. That's when we come back right here on a Tomlin Monday, KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms.
Stadium is on fire. They're enjoying what they're seeing.
Guys, trying to get
year and move forward quickly, knowing you got Tennessee short
Yeah, I think, just analyze this one quickly. We got to put it behind us because we know we got a game in 4 days and another game at home and another AFC opponent. So we just know we got to be better. We got to make more plays, and we just got to, move on from this one and, get better for the next one.
What do you take away from a game like this? Obviously, every time you're out on the field, you have the chance to improve by playing. So what are the positives when you look at this game?
I mean, getting turnovers, but we can't let them, get that field position. We just got to, get off the field quicker. I think there's too many times where we had them. There were some in third downs and we didn't get off the field. So we just got to get off, when we have them, in third downs and stuff like that. We just got to continue to get the ball out and just, just be better, at just getting off the field quicker and stuff.
Alex, I don't want you to put you in a position to say anything negative against the officiating, but players like Keanu Neal, how do you stop yourself from when you're in midair tackling someone?
Nowadays, you just got to go for the ball. I mean, it's tough, wrong call, because I think he, didn't put his body weight on him, but, we just got to control, we can control what they call it, they call it, and we just got to, move on to the next down.
You guys had a little bit of momentum, but you have a short week here. Is it easy to put the game like this behind you?
I mean, when you're in a close game like this and you don't win, we just got to, analyze it and get better from it. We do have to put it behind us because we know that we have a big game coming up this week. So we just got to be able to get after this one. It's another AFC opponent, so we got to get back on the win track.
I have one positive. You guys are big on the splash plays, like 3 turnovers today. It's important to keep doing something like that.
Yeah, we just got to continue to do that. But I think we can still get off the field quicker and like you said, and just get off the field quicker and get some 3 and outs and stuff like that. We need to get more of those, but we know that we're just going to continue to pride ourselves on getting turnovers and get the ball out.
You mentioned controlling what you can control. Just how frustrating is it, though, when it seems like there are multiple of those types of calls in a game where you have to turn it into a spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, once again, I think just, control. We can't control, what's called, and we just got to control how we go out and play.
Experience the legacy of the Steelers like never before. Step into the Steelers Hall of Honor Museum at Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of Steelers history, rare artifacts, and interactive exhibits. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
Mika could be characterized as out. He's got a hamstring injury. I don't have additional information in terms of time of that injury, but it's safe to say that he's not going to be able to be available to us on a short week. I think the door is definitively ajar for Kenny. Probably a game time type decision based on the information that I'm holding here today, with no structural damage and so forth to his ribs. And so we see how we'll go through the week. His ability to throw, his level of comfort, his ability of effectiveness, etc.
Welcome back, everyone. And it is a short week, so when they actually hit the practice fields, Coach Tomlin said that will be Wednesday. Physically, going to need to see some things from Kenny Pickett before giving him the green light for Thursday night. Confirmed Mitch Trubisky would be the backup. But the good injury news, there is a chance Cam Hayward and Anthony McFarland, who both are under that 21-day window to get off of IR, they're in consideration.
Well, Cam is on the fast track, it looks like to me, and that would be a big help to a run defense that needs to get some help to stop guys like Derrick Henry. That's going to do it for us, Missy. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And we'll do it again next Tuesday on a regular Tomlin Tuesday as the team gets set for a 3rd straight home game against the Green Bay Packers. Right now it's Tennessee. We'll have full coverage coming at you on KDKA throughout the week. And that's going to do it for Missy Matthews. I'm Bob Pompiani. Have a good rest of your Monday, and we'll see you at Acrisure Stadium.